All right, all right, all right. We are live. Welcome to the Second Chance Live series where we're all about living powerfully in your second chances. Second chances are like any mistakes that you've made. It's dumb stuff that you did. It's when life happened to you and took your dream away like it did for me in sports. You guys know me. I'm your host, Daryl Stinson. I am a former Division I athlete who attempted suicide multiple times because my dream of playing in the NFL got taken away from me. And so luckily I had a turnaround experience in a psychiatric unit in Detroit, Michigan, where I found my faith in Christ and I received a second chance to succeed in life without the demands of sports. I love interviewing people who have powerful stories and who work with athletes or are former athletes. Excuse me. And Miss Melanie is one of those people. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her and why I chose to bring her on. And you know why I do that. If you've been watching for a while, you know what to do. Think about the people in your network who could benefit from her story and her expertise. I want you to go ahead and click that share button if you're watching on any platform. And if you're watching on Facebook, you can actually host a watch party, which will notify your followers and social media stalkers that this is content worth listening to. So, Miss Melanie, I think I first met her through Clubhouse, and I forget which room we were in. And for those of you who don't know who Clubhouse is, it's like an app that's audio only on iPhone. Oh my gosh, I'm about to die. Hold on.
Oh no, don't die.
Messing me
Live.
up. All right. So it's an audio only connection app where you basically hop in these discussion rooms that are like group chats and just get to hear from people. And the goal is just to add value. And the more value you add, the better connections you make, the more visibility you get. So she was one of those people who was adding tremendous value in the room where they were talking about athletes. And so I wanted to bring her on because I was like, man, I would love to have you on my show because she just had a lot of great things to say. And then just recently today, I think you popped in a room that I was in and I heard you chime in a little bit there as well. So um, Melanie is a high performance coach for elite athletes, and she guides them from being distracted and anxious achievers to laser focused champions. I love that. I probably need some help around that area too. So I'm done running my commercial. I love for you to just come off mute. Let people know a little bit about your journey and how you got started working with athletes.
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. I am really grateful that you have invited me here to share this stage with you. And so for me, my sports journey started when I was about 8 years old. I got into gymnastics and I quickly became highly competitive in that sport. So before long, I was spending, 30 to 40 hours a week in the gym. And I became a state champion. I was ranked in the top five for multiple years. I was very good at my craft. And it was great. My performance was good. And at some point, that started to sort of break down as my emotional inner world was not doing great, even though I was performing well. So I ended up stepping away from gymnastics, got really into figure skating right after that, did not really give myself time to process, and just like kept going. Went to a highly competitive elite boarding school, where it was still this kind of constant motion, constant performance, constant achievement. Things were difficult, but I still just kept chugging along. Well, I got recruited to play lacrosse for a D1 school, after I'd only been playing for a year. And when I went to go get cleared by the physician, you have to get medical clearance, he would not clear me to play. And I found out that I had two herniated discs and a stress fracture in my back. I was only 17 years old, and the doctor said, well, at least you don't have arthritis. And that for me was a little terrifying, that I could possibly have arthritis at 17 years old because of the impact that I had been putting on my body for, at that point, over 10 years. Um, and I decided, well, I had to go and do physical therapy at that point, and I was in very intense physical therapy for about 20 hours a week. for about 8 months. And by the end, it was either that or back surgery. So I took that. During that time, though, I had been doing yoga and meditation since I was 13. So I sort of had that practice. But when I stopped doing my sport, I would still go to practice and I still had that kind of interaction with the team, but I no longer had my purpose. I had been an athlete for so long since I was 8 that I didn't know who I was outside of a sport, outside of winning, outside of achieving and performing and practice. And I did not really have an identity outside of that. So I went into a very interesting place as I was trying to figure out who I was, build friendships outside of a sport, which I hadn't really had to do, and just become a whole person. And yoga and meditation was a lot of that for me. And so I have had that practice, yoga and meditation, since I was a young teenager. And it's something that has carried me all the way through till now. I'm 38, so I've been doing it for about 25 years. Um, and so now I worked in corporate world. I've done all these things in technology, sustainability, and for me something was missing in that space. So I know that I have a heart for helping people and seeing the impact that I can have positively on people and providing a space where they feel safe, where they can be vulnerable, and where they can find some sort of healing, removing emotional, mental, physical blocks to help them, just to help them. So I recently launched this program where I am combining my work in yoga and meditation. I did martial arts for a long time, so I include that as well. And then I anchor body mind integration concepts into the body, into the mind, into the spirit with music. So I do original music, and I use the sounds to help people really be more open, really get these concepts, takes them into a deep meditative state so that you can really optimize the mind, the body, the spirit, and bring those all together a little bit more. I see a need for it, so that's where I fit in with this process.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And it's funny because, a lot of athletes don't want to slow down in order to do some of that work that you're describing. So I'm curious, what's your sales pitch to get an athlete to really buy into a process that's really foreign to a lot of athletes?
It's less difficult now because you have people like LeBron James talking about it. He's the number one face of the Calm app, which is a meditation app. You had Kobe Bryant talking about it. Phil Jackson has been a proponent for meditation like forever. And so all of his players would practice that as, a part of the team. And certain like the Seahawks are doing more with meditation. And so little by little, it's becoming more recognized as beneficial to players. Whereas before, I think it was kind of this totally woo-woo concept that people were, putting out there, somewhere out there. And now it's seeing that, okay, this can actually help my players, help me as an athlete or beyond being an athlete, be a better person, which makes me a better player, a better
Mm,
athlete, a better human, like in my sport and outside. And especially as you're moving to retirement or if you get injured or something like that, that helps you have a strong inner world so that you do not fall apart once you're outside of your sport. And I know for me and for you too, that transition was tough. It
yeah.
was like everything fell apart. It's like I have nothing to hold on to anymore. I don't have my structure. I don't have my support. And when you're able to build these inner tools a little bit more before that break happens, it's so much easier to kind of have a smooth transition on to the next thing.
Mm. Man, I love it. I love it. Oh man, this is my life's work. I get excited when I talk to people who get it because I was telling people, I don't know who it was. I was telling them earlier in my journey, I was, I couldn't find anybody to talk to about this transition thing. I had one person, which was a guy named Ryan, who I got introduced to from Brandy Winans, who's with Pro Athletes Transition, and he and I was just like preaching this message on how hard it is for transition. And a lot of other people were like, elite athletes don't need help, they're fine, like da, da, da. And I'm like, no, this is like a real challenge. And that's why I appreciate your work, appreciate what you're doing. I love to talk about like some typical results. Like what is kind of the before and after working with you?
I'll give you some interesting ones. So one player, or I'll just say person in particular, he had a couple of back surgeries as a teenager, and as a result of that, he'd lost feeling in a majority of his abdomen. So, he couldn't flex those muscles. Like, what do you do? And so he was having major back issues because, your core supports the back. If you don't have that
Mhm.
support, it's so much easier to get injured.
Right.
So I worked with him over about a year and a half and doing certain exercises basically to help the brain remember, hey, you are connected to this part of the body. Hey, you can control this. Hello, hello. Like you're just waking it up. And then he could start having feeling in that section of his body again. And he slowly was able to refire those muscles again. And it was not quite to the same level, but it was leaps and bounds ahead of where we started so that he
Mhm.
could start to rebuild that core, get his balance back. Because when one
Mhm.
side is sort of atrophied, the other side is making up for it. So, yeah, he had less back problems. Mobility was better, quality of life was better, had less pain, better sleep. All of that. And so that's a very physical example. But I think also the emotional example where people might be um, let's say having distraction or anxiousness or worry. Doubt is a big one. Confidence is a big one that I'm dealing with my clients. And so it's helping them get into a mindset through especially meditation. I do visualizations, talking to your future self, really understanding and getting that into your whole body, like feeling what that other state feels like of calm, of focus, of joy, of bliss, so that they get like somatically, it gets into the somatic system, your nervous system, so that it moves your mind and your subconscious to another place, which also takes just your whole self to another place. And so when they start feeling that doubt, feeling that anxiousness in the future, they can remind themselves, oh, okay, now I can go back to that other feeling that's always available to me. And so it just helps. Yeah.
So this don't be alarmed by this. This is every once in a while on these shows I'll get like this random thought where I'm like, man, I really want to hop into something and it may not be related, it may be related, but this one's related. So I was listening to you say that and I was with you for like the first three sentences. And then after the first three, I was like, uh-oh. I was like shaking my head. So like somatic and like, can you break that
Yes.
down for me? Because I have no clue what you're talking about. Actually, I
Got
know a little
it.
bit. I know a little bit. I do. Um, but I would love for you to kind of break it down for people who that's really, really new to.
Yeah, so working in the somatic system, I would say at the core, it's your nervous system. It's your body, and it's the relation that your body has to the mind. So when we're doing somatic work, that is trying to tap into your awareness of your own body. So like I do something with people where I am trying to get the brain to be able to focus in like so small, so laser fine. So I like, let's say that you touch right here in your chest, right?
Hmm.
Okay, who cares? But now imagine if you are trying to get your body to press up against that one point in your finger. That takes a lot of effort. Your brain is having to connect to the muscles around this area to be able to push there. And that systematic work is building that connection, building that awareness. And in doing that, you're increasing your focus, you're increasing your ability to call up your muscles in different parts of the body.
Hmm.
And that's huge for performance. If you can tap into a whole other level of your muscle control as an athlete, that changes everything. Makes you faster, more agile, more powerful without like lifting more, without doing necessarily more like what seems like more action. It's much more subtle, but it's also super effective because it's laser focused.
Hmm. I've never heard it explained that way. That was a really good job. Now I'm just gonna clip that and I'm gonna say it to my clients and I'm gonna sound so smart. Wow. I'm kind of fascinated right now, to be honest. I kind of want to camp here a little bit longer because you, I understand it theoretically. So you're saying when you do exercises like that, it creates a stronger connection between the brain and the body, which then creates greater performance. How does that correlate to better emotional well-being?
Good question. As you are doing that, so like I use this example. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Kill Bill,
I
but
have.
in that movie, she wakes up from a coma. Her body is atrophied. She cannot move, the main character. And so she's on the floor and she just looks down and she says, move the big toe, move the big toe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course you can move your big toe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but try to move just your big toe and nothing else. It's really hard.
I'm trying right now.
It's so hard.
I'm trying to see if I can do it.
Like, oh my gosh. Like don't move the other toes, don't move the rest of your leg, just the big toe.
Yeah, it's extremely hard.
It's
Okay.
so hard,
Okay.
right? But you
Okay.
can do it. Your brain has that potential. But what else were you thinking about while you tried to do that?
If I could do it, like, like I wouldn't be the person that do it, so I can prove you wrong. Like I don't know, like competitive stuff as an athlete.
Right? But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is for you to be able to do that, you have to be able to focus on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what that work is doing. And as you're focusing in on whatever that connection is, everything else starts to fall away. The doubt starts to fall away. The competition starts to fall away. The anxiousness falls
Hmm.
away. You are laser focused on yourself and
Hmm.
on this one moment, on this one movement. And that's like what meditation is all about. It's about bringing you into this right now, right here, not worrying about yesterday, tomorrow, the next play, also worrying about someone else, right?
Right.
It's just about you. And so a lot of athletes are so focused on beating someone else that gets them a step behind. Where if you are focused on your game and playing at your optimal level, if you
Mm.
are better, you are better. And that's it. And if you're worrying about whether you're better or not, that's losing you a step in the game.
Hmm. I don't know. I just always thought I was the best. I
Yeah,
don't know if I was worried or not. I wish I could go back in time and implement this. Maybe I would be
I
further or something. Like I
know.
don't know. Wow. The irony that we're having this conversation right now is that and I don't know if you caught my last live stream with Anthony Trucks, but he was earlier this week. I think it was Monday,
Mhm.
and he and I told him about an experience I had at a mastermind this weekend where I had asked they had this panel, they were talking about relationships and there was all these gurus and stuff, and I had asked about receiving, and I said I'm a giver and I have a hard time receiving, right? Like, I don't know if it's the ministry background. I don't know if it's just like, I don't know what it is. I know somewhat, but I couldn't really explain why I haven't overcame receiving yet. So that was my thing, is how can I receive better? So the guy goes, um, well, why do you think that you have trouble with that? And I said, well, because my mom and dad were split, and every time I needed something for school it was always an argument, so I felt like me wanting something is an inconvenience to other people.
Mhm.
And I thought I ripped it with the explanation, like, yeah, he didn't think I had an answer, and I did. And he literally goes, that's just surface level, Daryl. And I was like, what you
Oh,
mean? And so then, to make a long story short,
I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm just silent. Still have this
Got that,
like,
that you got that.
oh
Is that a is that
gosh,
a is that
it's
a
a
hardwire
landline.
phone?
I know.
Oh my
Take it in.
gosh, them still
Take it all
exist?
in. They are still
That's
here.
like an artifact at this point. Like, you got a landline?
It's a
like
landline.
what?
But
The thing is,
I can call around the world for the same price, so it makes it sometimes worth
huh?
it.
That's a good
Some,
point. That's a good
but
point.
you can still use WhatsApp, whatever, but every now and then it's been useful. So
Yeah. I had
anyway,
somebody the other day.
sorry.
I was like, I like to talk on the phone. They gave me their number, And then I looked at I said, "Oh no, no, that's too expensive." So maybe I could. Anyways, all right.
Like,
So yeah, so the guy goes. So the guy goes, "All right, Daryl."
all right.
It's like, maybe I'm not supposed to tell this story.
No, okay, go. Sorry. I'm so sorry. It's meant to be. I'm ready.
I just laughing because it's a landline. Next is gonna be a fax machine and the AOL slow dial up internet. Like,
I
like it
do
should.
still have a fax machine. No. You got the like printer scanner fax. Anyway, all right.
I got you.
Ready.
Oh, woosah. So, anyways, okay. So the guy goes, he's asking me some more clarifying questions, not trying to get me deeper, and then he says, "All right, how about you just sit for a moment, take a look around. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel in your body right now?" And I'm telling you, this thing, it lasted for probably like 10, 15 minutes, but it felt like an hour. It was so slow. And I was so upset because I was like, this has nothing to do with the answer to my question. And then fast forward like later that night, and I was just thinking about it, and I was like, ooh, I think I get it now. Like he was trying to get me used to being, because that's how you receive.
Mm.
And here's the irony. So I we had like a dinner that night. So I go to him and I was like, "Hey man, so is this kind of what that was?" And all that stuff. He's like, "Yeah." So long story short, I was like, "Where can I learn more?" And he said, "Well, the some of the education I received is one of my favorite ones is somatic experiencing." And
Yes.
so now here we are talking about it again. I talked about it with Anthony. So like I'm curious just to hear your thoughts around that perspective. Is what is your take on that exercise that he had me do and how it relates to receiving?
Interesting. I'm fascinated by this exercise because I don't know that I would have done that. So I'm like, ooh, I wonder why. Um,
Well, here's a question,
yeah,
like, and I can,
yeah.
certainly like share what he shared with me, but um, if your client was like, "How do I get better at receiving?" What would you do to help them with that?
Oh, yep, I would do the same thing. When you put it in those terms, I'm like, yeah, I would have him first. You sit.
Hmm.
Because this is my go-to for almost everything with my clients is first, we have to breathe. Because you've got like swirly things happening in the brain all the time, like, ooh, my to-do list. Ooh, what's that? Oh, I've heard this before. Let me give that answer. Oh, like, all these things. And when you just have to breathe and sit, there's no one in there but you and God. That's it. There's nobody else's like thought in there. It's your brain. There's nobody else's like expectation, just your own. And whatever you decide to put in there is okay. That's you like putting that there. But when you have to sit and breathe and get quiet, that is when I think the first step to receiving happens because you're allowing yourself to be here in this moment. You're allowing yourself to be open. And that's like, with prayer, that's when you can really hear God is when you're quiet and when you're still. And that is like, for me, that's the first receiving is receiving like God and having that connection to yourself as well. If that connection is not happening, it makes it really difficult to actually receive something. Like you can take, but like you said, that's the surface. If you're really going to receive, that's a whole different level. Like taking, like getting something is not the same as receiving something. That is
Right.
like getting it into you and allowing. You have to allow yourself to be open and vulnerable and seen.
Hmm.
You have to see yourself and also allow yourself to be seen. And that can be really scary, especially if that's been something that has gotten you hurt in the past. If being vulnerable has not been something that's gotten you a positive reaction or has gotten you into a scary place or a tricky place, or especially as athletes. I mean, like even being a woman as an athlete or a girl, like I was a gymnast. I didn't cry. Like we don't do that.
Hmm.
I was rewarded for not crying.
Hmm.
Like literally, you have to be tough and strong and put up this wall, and that like closes you off.
Mm.
So if you want to receive, you have to allow those walls to break down within yourself first. And then you can have that same interaction with other people. And that's like the exchange that has to happen.
Wow. Wow. You're very well spoken. You're very well spoken.
Thanks.
I might not have to hire you to coach me now.
All right.
Um, wow. All right, fast forward 20 years from now. What do you want to say you have accomplished and the impact that you made in the world?
I have a few. So, I would like to say that I've impacted lives positively, especially through this work. So, I would like to be able to say that I have been able to provide spaces for people to feel safe and to be seen and to see themselves and to be like whole people, because I think that that's lacking for a lot of people, especially in the Black and Brown communities. It's tough to find safe spaces. It's tough to find places where you can be vulnerable, and especially for athletes, because there are a lot of people trying to like latch in and like
Yeah.
take out, even if it's just energetically. So to be able to have a place where you feel safe, where you feel seen, where you can be vulnerable, like that's what I'm trying to provide.
Mm,
And then on the other level, so I have a goal to be able to send 10 kids a year to my old high school. I was on scholarship there.
mm,
Um, and it's 60 grand a year for that school. My
mhm.
goodness, you know, but to be able to do that for 10 kids a year, like that's what I want to do. And then
Yeah.
also be able to help them in college and beyond. Because
Wow.
one thing that I see with college or high school kids is like once you stop that school, you're like dropped off the face of the earth.
Mm,
And a lot of people don't make it after that. Like I could see in my own high school, we were so insulated and so in a
mm.
bubble and protected at school. But once we got to college, it was like,
Game on. That's what I
where am
call it.
I? Like I
Yeah.
was in a school of 250 kids in that school, and then went to UC Berkeley that has 40,000 people.
Hmm.
You know, you need some support. So anyway, that's like a another goal I would have in the next 20 years. And I think
Mm,
just being a good mom, like that I raise a son that has his life together a little bit and at least is a kind person that can express his emotions and
hmm.
be useful in the world and have some dreams and whatever that looks like. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and on the scholarship thing, yeah, we'd love to support you in that.
Yeah.
That's one of our passions as well. So, I always say, the one of the second chance, like, theme I said I was given a second chance to succeed in life without the demands of sports. And that came from when I always say it this way: I graduated with the right degree. I just didn't have the experience because I knew how to cheat and I got by on just pure like multiple choice expertise. And so, when I graduated, I had the opportunity to work for my alma mater in our communications department, which meant that I got my classes for free. All I had to do was pay taxes. And so I actually went and retook undergraduate courses so I could actually get the
Wow.
knowledge that I need to be a successful professional. And it was a game changer for me.
Wow.
And so we want to pay that forward. In fact, we did. We gave the first week of our proceeds when we launched our book to inner city youth program or whatever. But we want to create a scholarship foundation, which will launch hopefully this year. But yeah, so we're with you on that. We carry that burden,
Yeah.
and we so want to give athletes that opportunity to have a quality education and not just a good sports program. Both are important,
Yeah.
but yeah, so education is huge. So, anyways,
Yeah.
we can talk about that more offline. But you know, what if let's sometimes I like to do this exercise. Okay, um, you're you're in the Georgia Dome since I'm in Atlanta. Okay,
Okay.
I believe their capacity is 86,000 when I played. So let's just say there's 92,000 people there. It's packed out, and there is literally millions watching online. And they invite this speaker named Melanie up to the stage. and you are given 2 to 5 minutes to share your heart. What do you say?
Ooh, I would share that. Um, for me, in my opinion, there is one goal in life, and that is to love. Like, if I look at the Bible, if I look at the life of Jesus and really like what that meant, it's to love God, to love yourself, and to love each other. And that's it. Like, that's what matters. The other stuff, the combat, the fighting, the disappointment, the doubt, whatever those other things are they're not a priority. The first priority has to be love of, like, for me it's God, for other people it's something else. But whatever that higher power is, and then love for yourself. A long time ago, I was talking to my dad, he's a minister, and he said, "You know, Melanie, my priorities in life," and I knew he would say God first. I was like, "Yeah, great." And then the second one, though, I was surprised because I thought he would either say the kids, us, obviously, or or my
Hey,
mom,
hey,
you
he ain't
know?
thinking about y'all, man.
Yeah, he was like, "No," or my mom, because he loves my mother. I mean, it's just unparalleled, right? Like,
Mhm,
loves my mom. So I was like, of course it's going to be mom. He was like, "No, I'm number two, God and then me." And I was like, "What?" And
mhm,
it's that same analogy or that same thought of why you're supposed to, as a parent, when if the plane's going down, put your oxygen on first and then your child's, because if you're not taken care of, if you're not whole, if you're not loving yourself enough, if you are
mhm.
not doing what you're here to do, then your kids are going to suffer. Your partner is going to suffer. Like, everyone else suffers if you're not okay. Like,
Right.
you have to be okay first, and then you can give to other people. So
Mm.
I would share that. I would probably sing too, because then I wouldn't have to talk so much.
Oh man, just start singing them to pass the time. What would you sing?
um, well, because I was in Georgia, I'd probably sing this song Stone Mountain that I wrote in Stone Mountain.
Oh, let me hear
Yeah.
it.
All right. You ready?
Hmm.
Okay.
I'm gonna put you on the screen so it don't look like you singing to me, so that the audience can just experience. They're not don't serenade me, man. Like, oh god. Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Here we go. Here
Okay,
we
you ready? Oh, Stone Mountain. Oh, this mountain is my own true friend. Stone Mountain. Oh, this mountain. Well, she's here till the end. How do you sum up a mountain in one song? How do you do that? Oh, don't it just seem wrong? From the beginning all the way to the end. Looks like something different, but it's just the beginning again. Stone Mountain. Oh, this mountain is my own true friend. Stone Mountain. Oh, this mountain. Well, she's here till the end. My people walked here, they lived here and they died. So many fought, bled, and cried for the sake of pride. No matter the skin tone, red, black, or white. Thought that we were enemies, oh, thought we had to fight. Stone Mountain, oh, this mountain is my own true friend. Stone Mountain, oh, this mountain, well, she's here till the end. What?
Ooh, okay.
Yay.
Got some soul to it. I was
Thanks.
gonna tell you if it was bad too. I was gonna like, dang,
Okay,
I don't like to.
thanks.
I was gonna come off. I don't lie to people because you lie to people online. That's your reputation, your brand. Beautiful. So okay,
Thanks.
okay.
That's what I would
So
do.
so well, standing ovation. What wh- where did I love origin stories. So talk to me about like where did you come up with the lyrics for that song? Like and why?
That was the first song I wrote in like 2012. I've been in music since I was 2.5, like playing the piano, but I never did my own really. And I was in business school at the time, Georgia State, with like this university in Paris. It was super stressful. And yeah, I was really stressed out. So I would go to Stone Mountain, which is really close to my house, every day after classes when we were in the country.
Mhm,
And I would just walk this back trail like that hardly anybody is ever on, and I would just kind of like try to get out my energy, try to get myself in a good mental space. And I
mhm,
was just walking, and just it just came out.
mm,
So I say that's like some sort of divine inspiration.
mm,
Um, yeah, and I just started playing that one on the piano. It's the only song I have with the piano, but yeah, it came out almost just like that
wow.
day, one day. But I think being in Stone Mountain, thinking about people that looked like me that couldn't have done what I was doing there not very
Right.
long ago,
Mm,
um, without fear of being like killed, without fear of a lot of things that I am blessed enough to be able to experience living here.
mm,
And I think that just really, and then I started thinking about like the indigenous people that lived in this area and just like, but that now look at all of us, that we can all be in this space and share this space together. Like, and no matter what, that mountain has been there for so long.
mhm,
And think about like all the things that have happened on that mountain because it's, like it's been revered for by
mm,
people for a long time, and it will
mhm,
continue to be here even after we're all gone.
mm.
So that's, yeah.
Wow. Wow. See, that's why I asked because I knew there was a story behind it. That's so beautiful. I can't think of a better way to close out our time together. This has been phenomenal. You are brilliant, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. I appreciate you coming on, sharing with our audience today. If people are like me and they, love your voice, they love your expertise, they love your heart, and they're like, hey, I want to connect with this girl. How can they connect with you? And then why should they connect with you?
You can connect with me probably best on Instagram. So it's at melanie.e.larkins. There you go. And I'm also on Clubhouse. So it's at Breathe to Dream on Clubhouse. If you're on there, just look me up. You can check out my music on Spotify if you just search my name. I don't really put that out there a lot, but it's there. And why? I don't know. If what I do speaks to you, then let's have a conversation. Let's touch base. I'm always happy to talk to people. I'm always happy to share what I can. Yeah, if you're struggling with something, have questions, don't know what meditation's about, wondering if what I do could help you or if I can connect you with someone else that may be able to help, just let me know. Yeah, I'm happy to have conversations and talk, and I'm really grateful to you, Daryl, for the work that you are doing in this space. I thought I was alone when I went through this, and it's so helpful that you are doing this work because so many people need this. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's a blessing. And I'm really grateful that you had me up here today. So thank you.
Awesome. Y'all go hit her up, go blow up her Instagram. Thank her for coming on. Go get her songs on Spotify and share them since she's trying to hide them. But thank you so much, guys.
You're a
Just remember,
robot.
like, oh yeah, let me do this since we're having this conversation. I actually am working on being able to provide our book free of cost, or at least get it down to as low as $4.99. So If you have yet to get to book Who Am I After Sports, an athlete's roadmap to discover new purpose and live fulfilled, where I share my personal story of overcoming the mental health challenges that I faced in my transition out of sports and really in my injury that I had during sports and selling drugs and all that stuff, and our 5-step transition roadmap to help you discover new purpose and live fulfilled, let me know. Just reach out to me, and then I'll figure out a way to get it to you. All right. So next time,
Yeah.
we love you. Peace.
Bye. Thank